Cowboys Nation, what's up? Let's talk about two names that have completely changed the vibe in Dallas this season. Two guys who weren't hyped up when they came in, but who've quietly become the backbone of what's working for this team. I'm talking about Javant Williams, the running back who's rewriting his own story, and Clayton Adams, the offensive coordinator who's putting real identity back into the Cowboys offense. These two moves flew under the radar during the offseason, but now, looking back, they might just be some of the smartest decisions the front office has made in years. Starting with Javant Williams. Man, I'll be honest, when the Cowboys brought him in on that one-year, $3 million deal, the expectations weren't exactly sky-high. Most fans were skeptical, and for good reason. The dude hadn't looked like himself since the injury in Denver. His numbers had dropped, his burst wasn't the same, and even the analytics showed it. He was ranking among the worst in key rushing metrics like yards after contact and rush yards over expected. The guy who once tore it up at North Carolina and looked electric as a rookie just didn't seem to exist anymore. Denver was ready to move on, no hesitation. It really felt like a classic case of a player whose potential had been lost to injuries and inconsistency. But sometimes, all a player needs is a fresh start. A different locker room, a new coaching staff, a new system that fits what they do best. And that's exactly what Javant found in Dallas. It feels like he's running angry again, like he's got something to prove every single carry. You can see in how he hits the hole, how he fights for every yard, how he refuses to go down on first contact. He's not just back, he's evolved. The explosion that we all thought was gone has returned, and he's doing it behind an offensive line that's been banged up but still holding strong, which brings us to the other key piece in this puzzle, Clayton Adams. Now, Adams didn't arrive with fireworks or headlines either. The Cowboys picked him up from Arizona, where he'd built a solid reputation as one of the league's most respected offensive line coaches. Cardinals fans weren't happy to lose him, and looking at what's happening in Dallas right now, you can see why. His fingerprints are all over this new-look Cowboys offense. The run game looks sharper, more creative, and far more unpredictable than it's been in years. And that's saying something because the Cowboys' rushing attack had gotten stale, painfully predictable, even. Think about the past few seasons. Dallas leaned so heavily on inside and outside zone concepts that defenses didn't even have to guess what was coming. It was the same handful of plays over and over, no diversity, no creativity, just hoping the offensive line could open holes through sheer power. And that's not how you win in today's NFL. But Adams has flipped the script. He's brought balance back to the scheme, blending zone and gap principles, introducing more counter and power runs, and using motion and misdirection to keep defenses guessing. For the first time in a long time, this run game actually feels alive. You can see it in the numbers, too. Last year, inside zone made up nearly 40% of the Cowboys' rushing plays. Outside zone was another 21%. That meant almost two-thirds of their rushing attempts were the same two concepts. This season, that number has dropped back to a healthier balance. The team is running at least 5 different run concepts over 10% of the time. Counter runs have made a huge comeback, now accounting for almost 14% of the play calls and hitting a success rate above 50%, something that was unheard of in recent years. They've added more pull lead designs, more traps, more creative gap plays, and it's paying off. The offense finally has rhythm. That improvement doesn't just come from better play calling. It's about coaching the fundamentals. Adams' offensive line units have always been known for their physicality, their communication, and their ability to move as one. You can tell this group has bought into his approach. Even when Dallas was missing 4 starters on the line, the drop-off wasn't nearly as dramatic as you'd expect. That doesn't happen without a coach who knows how to prepare backups and get everyone on the same page. It's crazy to think how much Adams' presence has reshaped the Cowboys' offensive identity. When you look back at his time in Arizona, that team ranked near the top of the league in yards before contact. Now, that same skill set is translating in Dallas. The run blocking is sharper, the unit is playing faster, and the communication looks cleaner than it has in years. The Cardinals, on the other hand, have taken a step backward since he left, dropping to near the bottom of the league in several key rushing metrics. That's not a coincidence. That's impact. And here's the thing about coaches like Clayton Adams. They don't always get the spotlight. The NFL loves to hype up offensive masterminds who design flashy passing attacks. But the truth is, football is still won in the trenches. Adams is proving that an offensive coordinator with a run game and O-line background can still shape an elite offense. He's the kind of coach who builds the foundation that everything else depends on. That's why, even though some teams might start to take notice and maybe even think about poaching him down the line, Dallas has a real shot to keep him for a while. Non-play calling coordinators don't get as much national attention, and teams tend to overlook O-line experts when looking for head coaches. That might actually work in the Cowboys' favor this time. Now let's circle back to Javant Williams, because what he's doing deserves a lot more attention. He's top 10 in carries, top 3 in total yards, top 4 in yards per carry, and tied for second in rushing touchdowns. He's also near the top in success rate and explosive runs, and first in expected points added on the ground. Those aren't fluke numbers. That's consistent production behind a line that's dealt with injuries all year. What makes it even more impressive is that Dallas isn't running the ball as much as some other teams. They're 28th in run rate, but 8th in yards per game and 4th in yards per carry. That tells you everything about efficiency. Williams has given this offense balance. He's the spark that's forcing defenses to respect the run again, which opens up the play-action game and keeps defenses honest. You can see how the shift in philosophy, more under-center snaps, more motion, more misdirection, has started to create space not only for the backs, but also for Dak Prescott and the receivers. Football's a cycle, man. Teams load the box to stop the run, and you hit them over the top. They spread out to stop the pass, and you pound the ball right through them. The smartest teams in the league know how to stay one step ahead of that cycle. And right now, Dallas is figuring out how to do exactly that. The combination of Adams' scheme and Williams' resurgence has completely changed how defenses have to prepare for the Cowboys. The run game that used to be predictable is now dynamic. The offense that used to look soft against stacked boxes is now punching back. And the best part? It still feels like they're just scratching the surface of what they can become. Javant's playing like a man on a mission, and Adams has built a system that brings out the best in him. It's wild to think that 2 offseason pickups, neither of which made national headlines, could end up being the driving force behind one of the most improved offenses in the NFL. But that's exactly what's happening in Dallas. Williams and Adams are the unsung heroes, the quiet revolution behind the Cowboys' new energy. If they keep this up, people around the league are going to have to start paying attention, because the run game in Dallas isn't just back, it's reinvented. And it's sending a message to every defense out there. Underestimate the Cowboys at your own risk. What's really fascinating about this Cowboys turnaround is how every piece fits together like it was planned from the start. The transformation of the run game isn't happening in a vacuum. It's reshaping the entire offense. The numbers, the eye test, the way defenses have to react, everything feels different. You can see the confidence building in this team. It's not just that they're running the ball better. It's that the rhythm of the offense finally makes sense. The Cowboys aren't forcing plays anymore. They're dictating the tempo, setting traps for defenses, and making them pay when they guess wrong. Under Clayton Adams, the Cowboys' offensive line has become a teaching clinic in movement and leverage. It's not about brute strength anymore. It's about precision, timing, and communication. Watch the tape, and you'll see linemen pulling, climbing to the second level, sealing edges, and opening lanes with surgical efficiency. Even the backups are performing at a level that's keeping this offense stable. That doesn't happen by accident. Adams has built a unit that's not only cohesive but adaptable. Whether it's inside zone, counter, or trap concepts, these guys execute with the same intensity and discipline. And what's crazy is that this shift has come despite constant injuries. Normally, when you lose multiple starters up front, your entire offensive structure collapses. But Dallas hasn't blinked. They've stayed balanced, they've kept the run game alive, and they've found ways to control the line of scrimmage no matter who's on the field. That's the hallmark of elite coaching. Adams isn't reinventing football. He's just maximizing what his players do best. The ripple effect goes beyond the run game. Because the offensive line is holding up and because Williams is forcing defenses to respect the ground attack, Dak Prescott is playing in a cleaner, more comfortable environment. The play-action game, which had basically disappeared for stretches last year, is back in full force. Dallas is lining up under center more often, selling the run, and creating open windows in the passing game that weren't there before. The timing between Dak and his receivers looks smoother, and it all ties back to the threat of the run. Let's not forget what the Cowboys' offense looked like not too long ago. There were stretches where every play felt predictable. The defense knew what was coming before the ball was even snapped. There was no creativity, no rhythm, just a collection of plays rather than a cohesive system. Now there's flow. Every call builds off the previous one. The run sets up the pass. The motion confuses the linebackers, and the balance keeps defenses from overcommitting. When you can do that, you control the pace of the game. You don't have to chase big plays because the structure itself creates them. And Javant Williams is thriving in that environment. He's not just running through open holes. He's creating yards on his own. He's breaking tackles, fighting through contact, and extending plays that would have been stopped for short gains last season. The most impressive part of his game right now is how efficient he's been against every type of defensive look. Against light boxes, he's averaging over 7 yards per carry. Against neutral fronts, that number is still climbing. Even against stacked boxes, where most running backs struggle, he's adding nearly a full yard per carry compared to last year's average. That's not just effort, that's execution. There's also an intangible quality to his play. You can sense the confidence and determination every time he touches the ball. It feels like he's running with a chip on his shoulder, like he's on a mission to remind everyone that he's still that dude. The Cowboys' sideline feeds off that energy. When he rips off a big run, the whole offense seems to lift. That's the kind of spark Dallas was missing, the kind that turns a good team into a dangerous one. But while Williams has been the face of the resurgence, Adams remains the architect. What's interesting is how little outside attention he's getting compared to the difference he's making. Around the league, teams are starting to notice the Cowboys' renewed physicality, but they don't fully realize how much of that comes from coaching. Adams' attention to detail has been next level. He's teaching linemen how to win leverage battles, how to adjust mid-play, how to read defensive fronts before the snap. His presence has elevated everyone, from the veterans anchoring the line to the young guys stepping in when injuries hit. When you look at what happened to the Cardinals after he left, it really highlights how important he's been. Their rushing attack dropped from one of the best in the league to one of the worst, even though they still have most of the same personnel. That's not bad luck. That's losing a difference maker on the coaching staff. In Dallas, meanwhile, the same philosophies that worked in Arizona are now producing results for the Cowboys. It's the kind of improvement that's obvious when you look closely, even if it doesn't make national headlines. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. The NFL rumor mill is swirling, and if whispers on the street hold any weight, the Dallas Cowboys might be about to make the boldest defensive statement of the season. Sources close to team insiders hint that the Cowboys have zeroed in on one of the league's most feared pass rushers, Brian Burns. While nothing is official yet, the idea of Burns anchoring Dallas's defense has already sent shockwaves through the fan base and rival locker rooms alike. For years, the Cowboys' defense has been a roller coaster, capable of flashes of brilliance, but often struggling to maintain consistency. Enter Burns, a player known for his explosive first step, relentless pursuit, and uncanny ability to disrupt quarterbacks in the pocket. The chatter suggests that Dallas sees him as the missing piece, a player who can turn a good defense into an elite one overnight. Imagine a defensive line where Micah Parsons is already wreaking havoc, now joined by Burns. The nightmare scenario for any opposing offense. Sources close to the situation describe meetings between Burns representatives and Dallas front office officials as intense but promising, with both sides reportedly excited about the fit. While contract details remain murky, insiders hint that Dallas is ready to go all in to secure a player who could redefine the team's identity. Fans are already imagining highlight reels where Burns' sacks and pressures lead to game-changing turnovers, pushing the Cowboys back into the spotlight as one of the NFL's most feared defenses. Of course, in the world of football rumors, caution is key. Nothing is signed, sealed, or delivered yet, but the buzz is undeniable. Social media has erupted with speculations, memes, and debates over how Burns' arrival could tilt the balance of power in the NFC. Analysts are already penciling in scenarios where Dallas dominates opponents not just offensively, but with a defense that inspires fear week after week. Whether this will materialize remains to be seen, but if the Cowboys do lock in Brian Burns, the phrase total domination might not be an exaggeration. Rival teams are bracing for impact, and Cowboys fans are dreaming of a defensive renaissance. One thing is clear: wherever Burns lands, the NFL will be watching, and the Cowboys might just be preparing to make the kind of statement that echoes far beyond the Lone Star State. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.